Now they're going to bring a man in motion across the formation. Bird's going to keep it. He's through a whole 40. There he goes, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. It's a foot race, and they're not going to get him. It's a touchdown for Bird Ficklin. What a run by Ficklin. 67 yards. He broke through the line, and nobody touched him for a Utah touchdown. First and 10 at their own 21-yard line. Sawyer Robertson in the shotgun. He's going to play action, take a shot down. He's got a man wide open down the field, and it's caught at the Utah 40. Still on his feet, and down at the Utah. He's still on his feet. Look out. 20, 15, and out of bounds goes Cole Wilson. Poor tackling, poor coverage, and a gigantic play for the Baylor Bears, and they're set up in the red zone on the Utah defense. Wayshawn Parker checks in. First down, run straight ahead. Parker, second level, 45-50. He's in the open field. He's going to go 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Wayshawn Parker. Four-man rush coming here for the Utes. Robertson to pass. Pressure coming off the edge. He steps out of a sack. He's looking down the field. He's got a man open. Trigg, 10-5 touchdown. That's actually Josh Cameron. An absolutely disastrous final 30 seconds of the half for Utah. They missed the sack, and then they blow the coverage on Cameron. That was Elijah Davis. And Cameron gets in the end zone, and the Baylor Bears will go to the locker room feeling great, only down 11 instead of 18. Robertson's going to change the play. He's got 3 receivers left and a tight end on the right-hand side. He's going to look to his left-hand side. Pressure coming, and he is escaping, and now he'll be sacked. All the way back at the 16-yard line. Robertson down. Sack on the play by Lander Barton. They split Dampier out wide to the left-hand side. Keep Parker in the backfield. 2 tights and 2 wides as Bray comes in motion. Bird Ficklin's going to keep it himself. There he goes again, 35-40, 45-50, stiff arm 40, 35-30, 25-20, 15-10-5 touchdown. You gotta be kidding me. He's done it again. Bird Ficklin, 74 yards up the near sideline and into the end zone for a Utah touchdown. And that's going to be 4th down and a whole lot longer now for the Baylor Bears. 4th down and 8, all the way back near the Utah 47-yard line.
That's the second time he's done that. He's a guy you got to snap it quickly there.
Again, the Bears 2 out of 3 on 4th down. This will be a pass situation. Utah just showing a 4-man rush right now. Now they bring another to the line of scrimmage. Robertson claps his hands, takes the snap. Utah coming off the edge. Robertson's going to step up and be sacked. He's dropped. It'll be a 1-yard gain to the 46. John Henry Daly and Lance Holtzclaw sandwiched him and took him down at the 46-yard line. It won't go as a sack, but in essence it was, and the Utah defense comes up big. Now Devon's going to change the play. Speed option to the outside, Rogers. He's at the 5-4-3-2-1. Is he in? He is. Touchdown. Good cutback by Nakari Rogers. In a 3-yard touchdown run, and Utah's punched in another one here early in the 4th quarter. 2nd down and 10 now. At the Baylor 37-yard line, he's going to pass again. Pressure again. Hit as he throws. Intercepted. That's going to be Trey Reynolds. Up the sideline and tackled at the 10-yard line. Trey Reynolds with his 2nd interception of the season, and it was the pressure that caused the pick, and the Utah defense comes up big again.
First down, Utah.
Dampier in the gun, Parker next to him. Davis comes in motion. Throws it in the flat to Wayshawn Parker. He goes to the end zone, touchdown. He made a little hesitation move and blew right by the cornerback, dove into the end zone for a Utah touchdown. Robertson changing the play now as we have 9 minutes to play in the ball game. Knighton stays in the ball game for Baylor in the backfield. Utah bringing pressure again. He throws to the outside. It's caught. Immediately out of bounds. Josh Cameron again, at the 17-yard line. Covered by Blake Cotton. 9-yard gain.
That's when you have a lot of confidence in your guy because Robertson threw it before he'd even broke on the route there. And those are tough to catch or to defend when you throw it that early.
Clock running at 8:35 to play in the ball game. 49-20 Utah. Utah going to rush 4 here. on Robertson on second and short. Whispered something into Knighton's ear. Play action pass. Pressure off the edge. Looking to the end zone. Up. Caught. Touchdown. Josh Cameron. Third touchdown tonight. Beat Scooby Davis.
Yeah, I mean, this is really good.
Oh, now a fight.
Oh, wow.
Teo Johnson going at it, along with Ashton Hawkins and others. Oh, let's see how they unfold this one. The last thing you want right now is to have anybody ejected from the game and miss the first half of next week's game against Kansas State. Here's Kevin Marr, our referee. He's going to sort all this out for us right here.
There are 2 fouls on the play, 1 by each team. Unsportsmanlike conduct, Utah number 9. Unsportsmanlike conduct, Baylor number 0. They both threw punches. They're both ejected from the rest of the ball game.
Well, Bert Ficklen's going to get a chance to punch this thing in. They'll break the huddle with 10 seconds. He's got Nakari Rogers in the backfield. First down and goal from the half-yard line. Ficklin brings the fullback in motion. Hands the ball to Rogers. Rogers into the end zone, and that's a touchdown. And now more pushing and shoving after Nakari Rogers scores his second touchdown of the night tonight and his 10th on the season. Double-digit touchdowns now for Nakari Rogers. Victory formation, the best formation in football right now. Bird Ficklin will take a knee for Utah. The Oklahoma native with the Texas native Daniel Bray right behind him. First down, Bird Ficklin takes a knee, and that will do it. Utah comes to Texas, and everything's a little bit bigger in this state, and that's what it was on the scoreboard tonight. A big win for Utah, 55-28. They beat the Baylor Bears for a third consecutive time, and it's a great night to be a Ute here in Waco, Texas, as the Utes improve to 8-2 on the season and 5-2 in Big 12 play.
55-28, the score on the Utes win last week as they advanced to 8-2 on the season, 5-2 in Big 12 play. Still in the hunt for a Big 12 title and potentially more. We're going to get to all of that and more. React to the Baylor game, and look ahead to today's matchup with Kansas State. Of course, the number 12 Utes still in the hunt for a whole lot as we get into late November. We'll have a short week, of course, next week, and then we get into bowl season, selection season, and all of the above. So conference championship season, of course, not to be overlooked in today's age of college football. Trevor Reilly sitting alongside me. We'll be back on the other side reacting to the Baylor matchup and looking ahead to Utah and Kansas State. Kickoff at 2 p.m. up at Rice Eccles Stadium. Bill Riley, Scott Mitchell, Stevenson Sylvester have the call just under 2 hours from right now. They'll take over from the tailgate up on campus right here on Utah's #1 sports talk and your home of the Utes since 1951. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.
This is head coach Kyle Whittingham, and you're listening to Utah Football on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.
Hey, head ball coach bringing us back in on ESPN 700. Of course, Kyle Whittingham, who just had his 66th birthday. You can hear him each and every week on the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show, Tuesdays at 6 p.m., including this coming week on ESPN 700. Also, his weekly press conference leading up to and after each and every Utah football game every Monday, 11 a.m. Scratch that, every Monday, 10:58 a.m. On ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. A guy who played under Kyle Whittingham for quite some time and, of course, knows the man well. Trevor Reilly sits aside me here at Beer Bar, 161 East, 2nd South. One of our favorite spots. What's up, Trev?
I just wish it was open. I'm looking at that cotton bottom burger, dude.
We're waiting for
Come
brunch.
on now.
We're waiting for brunch. We're incentivizing you guys to get here though for your pregame meals. Listen, we got what almost 4 hours still until kickoff. So
yeah, man.
Swing in here around noon. We'll get you set up with some tailgate passes. We'll get you set up with. I got a few things to give away for you. And hey, you get your Big 12 scoreboard watching out of the way pregame at all of their big projector screen TVs here at Beer Bar. Okay, Trevor, last week, 55-28, the win over Baylor. I mean, it was just clearly impressive what Utah did on the ground. Bert Ficklin comes in and provides what can only be described as an electric spark, right? Like, he looked phenomenal. I think it's easy to want to have a quarterback conversation when a guy looks like that.
Yep.
But this late in the season and with how these guys are kind of working in tandem and how Kyle is using them, that doesn't mean there's a quarterback controversy. That just means you have depth. And I think that's a good thing that we saw last week against Baylor.
Absolutely. I had the fortune of having lunch with those two guys, or dinner, excuse me. They were sitting right next to each other, okay? And I saw that, and I knew we were in a good place, right?
They seem to be really good friends. They're, I think, roommates in some form.
I've been married twice now, and I learned two things, right? Well, number one, pick beautiful women, and number two, always know your limits and know where how far, how low you can go. And I think those two guys understand their limits. I think Bird knows that this is my role on the team, and my man Four, he really he's just a winner. I always tell that guy, he's going to find a way to get it done. When he's healthy, he's hard to beat, and I think they complement each other really well.
Well, and they complement each other really well right now because it's clear that Devin is struggling with that ankle injury, right? It's been an all-year thing, and if you have ever dealt with ankle sprains, right, those are things that if you don't sit for a month, they don't quite heal all the way, right?
No.
And that's just something that Devin's going to have to deal with throughout the year. Now, they get to a point where if taped up right and you're feeling good, you get limber, it doesn't have to bother you too much. There's always that risk of re-injury with those, so we'll keep an eye on that. But for Utah, I think a quarterback conversation is not a problem at this point in the season. It's not like you're coming into the year wondering, is it Troy Williams? Is it Tyler Huntley? Is it this guy or that guy? This is a different scenario, and for Utah, depth is a good thing, especially after the last 2 years that Utah fans went through in the Cam Rising saga.
Yeah, that was this is a breath of fresh air, but I see a smile on 15's face.
He's having fun.
Well, he knows money's on the way, okay? He's got a payday coming in
You're
about
not wrong.
1 or 2 weeks, and his agent's already talking to people. And, guys, I'm sorry I'm a broken record. I bring this up, but you got to bring up cap, okay? You got to bring up the cap. What do you think, Porter? Who you bringing back if you got to choose one next year?
Right, that's the big question.
That's the pregunta, man.
And Kyle Whittingham was asked about that in his press conference, and he was pretty blunt. He just said, do you think both of those guys will be on your roster? He said, I sure hope so.
The hope
right?
is one thing, man. I hope and pray for a lot of stuff, but I know this. Money talks.
Money talks, absolutely. That's what Kyle said. He said,
that's money talks.
We are going to have to get our ducks in a row and make sure we make those guys whole in some form. And that's something that, I think we'll have a hot topic on.
We got something coming, man. Club 22, I'm telling you. We're going to start a nonprofit. We're going to fundraise on the macro level, $22 from $22,000. That'll cover the windfall. But anyways, we got to figure this thing out, Porter, because I'm going to say this again. We got 4 weeks. When does this portal close? It opens up here soon, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it opens soon, closes soon.
They've cleaned up the calendar a little bit,
yeah.
So we'll get into all of that as it goes. But Baylor, Utah, 55-28. What else did you see in that game, Trevor? I think that Baylor moved the ball. Obviously, you look at the total yardage. Baylor moved the ball more than you would want, but that is the top passing attack in the Big 12. Still, as of right now, the number one passing attack in the conference. What did you see defensively that allowed Baylor to move the ball so much against Utah last week?
Well, they're not very good. Okay, and I say that with all due respect to Coach Aranda, but they spent money on offense.
Yeah.
We saw that because they lit us up for about 400 and something, if I'm not mistaken. We have an issue going against teams that play a little backyard boogie at quarterback and receiver. That happened last year against Colorado and a few other teams where we're covering, right, and then we just got to get out of the play. And so I saw that as a defensive liability. I'm sure it'll be shored up. But they didn't rush the ball too well on us, and we don't play. We've beaten not very good teams this year. Okay, and that's not a revelation. Baylor seems like one of those teams. They might end up below 500,
right.
And so I thought it was a status quo game. I expect much of the same this week, but they fall into that category with most of the teams we've beaten this year. We're just by fortune, the games that we're killing everybody. The teams aren't very strong.
And that comes into play when you talk about the committee, right? When you talk about your postseason aspirations. Ultimately, you ask Kyle Whittingham, it's about getting a win.
Yep.
But at the same time, I think everyone in the building, everyone in the country in college football world kind of knows it's also about how you win. And Utah seems to know that because they are winning dominantly when they win. But, of course, those 2 weeks where they weren't playing their A game, is kind of the big blemish on the schedule, and something that, Utah sitting at 12 now, man, you really would like to have one of those back.
Well, if we win out, right, that's going to be the question, because this season reminds me of our last year in the Mountain West. Strong team we had. We ended up winning 10 games.
Yeah.
But we only had 4 games on the schedule, and then everybody else was a cakewalk. So we played and lost against 2 teams. They hurt. TCU, remember that massacre on ESPN?
It was a top 10 matchup.
It was bad, right? And then we lost another one. And anyways, this reminds me that we're almost there. If we could play an extra 2 games, right, the team might be better off. But I see Utah in a tough spot. Okay, we need some action to happen. But if we keep blowing teams out, that Alabama loss hurt, dude. Okay, that Alabama loss really hurt us right there. But we need Cincinnati to come through this week, right?
And there's still other matchups. There's Missouri, Oklahoma. Oklahoma's still got LSU. Notre Dame, I believe, will win out, but they've still got Syracuse and Stanford, which could at least get interesting, right, on the road. So we'll tune into all of the games, and we'll always be scoreboard watching, specifically because when you're sitting at number 12 in a playoff that, gets 12 teams in, but also has some qualifications to that, it puts you in a tough spot. And for Utah, they do not control their own destiny, unlike a few of their Big 12 comrades like Texas Tech, like BYU, of course, Houston, Utah, Arizona State, and Cincinnati, all with only 2 losses in conference play and still very much in the hunt for a conference championship. On the other side, we're going to continue the conversation a little bit on the Baylor game, but we're going to look ahead to Kansas State. What do they pose as far as a matchup to the University of Utah? Any problems they give? Of course, Avery Johnson, the starting quarterback, and the Kansas State Wildcats. The first ever meeting, Trevor Reilly, between Kansas State and Utah.
That's crazy. We're right next to each other, dude.
Listen.
I-70 buddies, man. We should be playing each other more often. Snyder didn't want any of that smoke, huh?
The regional stuff, you'd think we'd seen them more. But, they've been a Big 12 stalwart for a long time, so we've never seen the Kansas State Wildcats. Welcome to Salt Lake City for the first time ever here in about 3.5 hours on ESPN 700 and 92.1. This is the Utes Game Day pregame show. I'm Porter Larson, and we're live from Beer Bar, 161 East, 2nd South. Come in and enjoy their brunch here starting about noon. And I'll tell you what, Trevor and I have chowed down each and every time we've been out here. We're not joking.
Dude, I got high cholesterol this place is unbelievable, dude. And I'm still going to eat.
They've been here working all morning, so it's not like they're in here like microwaving stuff like you get at some bars. No, it's all made from scratch. They've got the Cotton Bottom garlic burger here as well. Of course, they're partners up there at the Cottonwood location of Cotton Bottom. So we'll get to all of that. We'll get you a little brunch preview as well on the Utes Game Day pregame show. on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.
This is Utah quarterback Devin Dampier, and you're listening to Utah football on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
Welcome back. Utes Game Day on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. That was Devin Dampier, starting quarterback for the University of Utah, not appearing on any availability or injury reports so far this week. So we'll likely see Devin Dampier under center for the University of Utah in the shotgun, in the pistol, maybe out wide a few times. They've been using Devin Dampier all over the place. You can tune into Edition with Devin each and every week on the Sean O'Connell Show, and, of course, on our website and YouTube pages. Just search it, ESPN 700, Edition with Dev. Edition with Trev. That's a new segment here on
Edition with Trev, man.
On ESPN 700. All right, dude. So, obviously, the 55-28 win last week was impressive. It was another mark on Utah's resume that is you're doubling up on a Big 12 opponent, that puts up a bunch of yards and a bunch of numbers on the offensive end. But like I said, I thought, Trevor, there was a lot of lapses on defense. Now, part of that is just being on the field so much because your offense is scoring 60-yard touchdown, 70-yard touchdown, pick six. You're out on the field over and over and over again. You're going to have lapses. Is that more of what you saw last week, that 28 points are up on the board because there's just a lot of snaps you're playing, or were there other things that concerned you about the Baylor Bears moving the football?
Well, we were on the other side of some of those plays earlier in the season, especially against BYU. We muffed that punt. We had a few other things. We didn't get those fourth downs. So the game is so delicate, right? Watch how fast it got out of hand, right? You win all those, those I call them impact situations.
Right.
The game's over, and right, we've been doing that. We've been putting people to sleep in the first quarter, dude. Like we're Mike Tyson and people at times, right?
Games are over in the third. Yeah.
I'm telling you. So the games are not even fun to watch, really, except for the hype of winning. It's just like it's a cow kill, dude. It's fish in a barrel, and we're running the single wing, okay? And I actually happened to play for the guy who brought that to the forefront in recent times. Remember Ronnie Lee? Okay, there was a coach in Miami, okay? He started doing this with Ronnie Brown. You remember that?
I don't.
Okay,
Not
this
quite.
was back in 2008, 7 or something.
I have faint memories. I was in middle school.
They had a situation like this where I think Pennington blew a shoulder out or something, and somebody got hurt. We have a situation at receiver, obviously.
Yeah.
So they went in and got this guy, okay, who was a quarterback's coach who was at Vanderbilt, and he was my coach in New York in 14. I can't remember his name. But he started, let's run the single wing. So they start running the ring with Ronnie Brown from Auburn, right? The Wildcat, as they called it. And obviously the rest is history as far as the impact on the game. But that really that's what we look like, and the situation reminds me of that because we just can't throw the ball down the field. I mean, unless it's to Bentley in the red zone. 9 is a dog. I talked to him. We're getting all we can out of him, right? Even the Beck said I wasn't expecting him to be the guy. So as I look at Baylor and as I look at Kansas State, there's going to be some commonalities. If I'm Kansas State, I'm definitely going to try to throw the ball. Okay, I'm going to run around and throw the ball. I don't know if that's their game, but they have a playmaker at quarterback. And then just stopping the run, that's a toughness thing. Right, Jim Harding and Fred Whittingham, they're just tougher than everybody. We're training these guys like soldiers, dude, and they're roughing these guys up. No one wants to play Utah right now.
You mentioned that. Second in the country right now as far as rushing offense. 134 teams ranked in that regard in FBS football. First, of course, in Big 12 play. And then you look on the rush defense, and they're right there. Total defense, of course. I look at the scoring. Ultimately, it doesn't matter if you give up some yards. If you keep them out of the end zone, that's the stat you look at. Utah is 10th and 6th in the nation right now in scoring.
So why isn't Scally going to be a head coach somewhere? Why? Like, remember Muschamp was the coach in waiting over there with Mac Brown. If I'm any school in the country, why am I not offering Morgan Scally a head job?
Well, hey,
or Jay Hill, what the heck is that about?
It adds an interesting conversation to this offseason because maybe
schools don't like Mormons or something.
There's plenty of head coach openings.
How are those two guys not getting a look, dude?
Well,
There's descendants of Ron McBride and Kyle Whittingham and Kalani Sitake, and these two guys can't get a shake? Really?
Even Kyle, interestingly enough, I think he did court with an SEC school at one point, notoriously.
Tennessee, dude, 2011.
Very close.
$3.7 million a year, dude. I've seen the number on the whiteboard, dude.
Very close to
$4
being
million
a Tennessee Volunteer. But there wasn't as much noise around Kyle as I would have expected just based on his job performance. And I think these guys will deal with that because it's the same thing you deal with being Utah. Same thing you dealt with being a Fiesta Bowl team, a Sugar Bowl team. The exposure isn't what it is in L.A. It's not what it is in New York. It's not what it is in some of these big markets. But part of that is changing with this age of new info.
I just know that we got two guys in town who there ain't no better coordinators in the whole country. One of them has been a head coach and took a team that was a doormat to the FCS championship dang near. And we can't get these guys a head P4 job. Really?
I think they will. I
see some bias there, man.
Obviously, Morgan will.
Bunch of haters around here, dude.
Eventually, I think Jay Hill will as well. We'll wait and see on that one. All right, Trevor. Looking at Kansas State, you mentioned the quarterback, Avery Johnson. He was preseason, like kind of a Heisman guy people were talking about. Now, I don't know if I ever saw that. He's a tall, athletic, really dynamic athlete. I've never seen him play quarterback to the level where I thought he was a Heisman contender. I think you're kind of seeing that come to fruition with Kansas State this year. But he's also, man, it just doesn't seem like getting much juice elsewhere.
Yeah.
What have you seen from Kansas State, a team that we kind of thought was conference contender light coming into the year?
He reminds me of James Harden. Okay, they have a high usage rate with him. He's running the ball, he's throwing the ball, he's rolling out and throwing the ball, right? He's running around back there, but he reminds me of James Harden in Houston or recently in L.A. with the Clippers, whichever version you get every Saturday. But their team isn't very talented, right? They're okay, right? They got some guys, but they're not like that, right? And so when you have guys around you that are like that, it turns into a one-man show. Or, the running back wasn't bad, but, I mean, they're just Kansas State. I remember them with Snyder and Sproles. Right, they used to run I formation and Bishop and run the ball with the quarterback. That's been their MO for a long time, man. That's where their best teams have been.
Yeah.
So I think that they've had a few coaches through there, and I mean Andy Ludwig told me one time that Snyder's the hardest working coach he's ever been around. He was around Jeff Tedford, by the way. He says this guy is a guy. So that program very similar to how Kyle is in that way. A grinder at head coach, tough guy, attention to detail, second to none with Snyder. Second to none. And so it's bled through here, and they show some toughness on the field, but they're trying to recapture some of that magic. Again, Manhattan, Kansas, not an easy place to recruit. Driven through by there, not easy to get people there.
I was going to say, yeah, recruiting to the middle of Kansas is always an interesting conversation as well. That's a conversation we have here. But, yeah, as you mentioned, they're trying to keep a hold of some of that identity that they had with Coach Snyder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the conversation we're going to have here that, 5-10 years from now, I think there's some continuity, and that's something you like about having Morgan Scalley, maybe the guy sitting there waiting, where that identity is a little more clear. The pathway from one guy to the next is you can see that identity, whereas at Kansas State, it's a whole new staff, it's a whole new system.
Scalley needs an agent. I need to be Scalley's agent. You know I'd say about
you need to be everyone's agent.
Morgan Scalley. He didn't play for Coach Witt like that. He
you're
played
my
for
agent.
Coach Scalley he was recruited and played for Mac. Then he won championship with Urban, and then he GA'd for Kyle Whittingham as coach for him. That's a heck of a resume.
Yeah.
Not to mention he played rugby at Highland High School, and that's a legendary program.
Have you ever seen him as a running back, by the way?
I've never seen the tape, but I've heard great stories that him and Haloti used to really just whoop people up, dude.
Morgan, with the ball in his hands, was a freak.
Yeah.
Which you see his vision for the game as a defensive back. You can put it together, but man, he
speaks German. Okay.
Okay,
his dad was a lawyer. All right. Yeah, he did a 2-year mission there. This guy has a great family, and I say all this because we're good, dude. Our defense is freaking good and has been for a long time. We don't talk about them enough because it's so status quo. It's almost an arrogance that we're not even talking about how historic this defense is, dude.
Right.
And it's just another year for Morgan Scalley.
It really is just.
And no one wants to offer him $10 million, $8 million. Are you crazy?
Here's what I will tell you, and I don't know if Morgan will ever.
I mean, it could have been the N-word thing, but that was a long time ago, dude.
I think that USC. I think that a few other programs have reached out, have had conversations with Morgan, and I think it has been short because he hasn't shown a lot of interest, and I think that's part of it as well. If you're playing your own agent and you're like, yeah, I'm not interested, then you're not going to get many offers, right?
So, Porter, do you have the scoop on that real quick? Did he ever get offered the USC coordinator job?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
But I could see Morgan taking. I think a lot about the guys, but I hope the best for him, and I think we're going to kick their butt on defense.
I think that Utah has a good shot at kind of shutting down this Kansas State team, specifically just the matchup that they have. I don't see Kansas State running the ball at all on this Utah defense, and of course the top 10 defense that we're talking about, led by one Morgan Scalley. We're going to hear from Morgan Scalley here in 20 minutes or so on the Coordinator's Corner, of course, from the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll replay that each and every week here on ESPN 700, whether it's Jason Beck or Morgan Scalley. We'll give you a Big 12 injury and availability report, a college football scoreboard update, and look around the country. And then, of course, we'll set you loose, give you our predictions for the game, check the lines and the weather and all of the above as we set you loose at about noon, where Bill Riley, Scott Mitchell, Stevenson Sylvester have the call of the game. It's Utah and Kansas State, a Big 12 showdown on ESPN 700, your home of the Utes since 1951. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.
Hey y'all, this is O-Block member Spencer Fano, and you're listening to Utah Football on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.
Welcome back, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. It is a Utes game day. I'm Porter Larsen, Trevor Reilly alongside me. We're live at Beer Bar, 161 East, 2nd South. Stop by for their brunch here coming up a little bit later on. We got some tailgate passes and whatnot to give away here at noon. And then we'll be headed up to campus for Utah and Kansas State. The number 12 Utes hoping to remain alive for a Big 12 championship possibility, a college football playoff potential, all of that and more still on the table for Utah. Now, they don't control their own destiny in that regard. They have 2 losses on their schedule, and those both come in conference play. So for Utah, you got to win out, and you got to win out convincingly, and then you got to hope for a few things to happen in front of you, and then, the chips will fall as they do. Now, going into this game, Utah is clearly very healthy, Trevor Reilly. 0 people on the Utes Big 12 availability report this week. Now, there are some season-ending injuries that don't have to appear there anymore that we've kind of gone over ad nauseum. Obviously, they've got one of those at the cornerback. They got Dadrian Zipper at the wide receiver position. Nate Ritchie's out, I think, long-term. So there's players all over the roster that are out, but on the short term, no one added this week to the Utes availability report. The only person that appears, at least on our latest one, we'll get another one shortly before kickoff, Elijah Davis, who is out because he punched someone last week.
Yeah.
So that I don't think he technically even has to appear on this report from the U, but they put him on there, and he's the only one that does.
Passive aggressiveness at its peak there. I'm excited for this next season, but I'm really excited to see how some of these young guys finish out this year. I think we're going to be ahead early in this game, and I think that we should see the future. I want to see what we got going. I hate talking like that because I'm a former coach, but I'm going to keep it real, dude. I think we're going to smoke this team, dude.
Isn't that one of the best parts of playing teams that you do think you're going to kind of have an edge on? You can see some guys in positions that not only for the future, but also maybe for later this year that you may need their depth. You may need a rep or two out of them, right? Just that confidence of seeing them on the field and getting some in-game reps.
I think specifically real quick about the offensive line. We might have to replace 4 or 5 of those guys, right?
Yeah.
That's a big ask.
Well, and hey, big game late in the season, you may have to replace one of those guys for 10 snaps.
That's right.
You'd like the guy behind him to have at least a feel of what game action is like if he doesn't already. So that's part of the good part about having that depth and being ready for it. But Utah, relatively healthy for the home stretch going into it. The Big 12 availability report on the Utes Game Day pregame show, brought to you by SetXL and JBR Clinical Research, conducting clinical research studies to fuel growth and advancement in the medical field. Currently on acne, tummy tucks, neuropathy, chronic low back pain, and more. And right now they're doing a clinical conduction study on osteoarthritis. So head over to SetXL.com/JBR for all the information there. You said you've been running lately?
I like running at night. A lot, it's cold, but I like it.
Is that something like you're done with football? I'm sure there's a lot of football players who relate. Athletes in general, you find yourself tapping your foot, like you just need something to do.
Absolutely.
So you just start running, like Jordan Gross. I don't know if you.
I heard he lost a bunch of weight. When those
he does
alignment,
not look like an offensive
they look
lineman
weirder
anymore.
with the big heads in their body. Like, what the heck happened to this guy? This guy looks like a cartoon character.
He looks like a cardio athlete now. It's crazy.
I like to run at nighttime. I was out near, Faust. I was out there running the Pony Express Trail.
Well, you see, this is why I had to bring you back to this. So you're out past Delta, Grantsville?
Well, yeah, out towards Delta. I think you can keep
Tooele.
going that way. Tooele area, it's right on the border of Tooele and Utah County. There's an open preserve there, and anyways, it's just beautiful to run out. I was in the Middle East, and I used to run out in the Wadi Rum Desert, and I was in California. I grew up in the high desert. I like the desert, man. And Utah, it's right there, dude.
So rewind back to 1848. My ancestors just got here with our Mormon friends, right?
There you go.
And Brigham Young hired my dad's great-great-grandfather to expand, right? He was, to be clear, on the run. My dad's family, he was on the run from the law. So
decided to leave America, head to Utah.
There was an excuse for him to be out exploring on solo trips, and his job was to find a way to get to California without using the California Trail or without going down through Santa Fe, down through the desert, right? So his job was to find that route through the Great Basin, left from Grantsville, down through Tooele, out through, where Skull Valley is,
yep.
And down through pretty much where Elko is and out through the Great Basin. So that Pony Express Trail followed what was not necessarily his route. It was actually Paiute Indians who showed them their ancient trading routes. Part of it's called Redden's Way.
Okay.
And that's my
That's a
great
fantastic story, man.
So you're
that
on
gives
that,
some context,
you're on that trail.
dude. I'm on the trail.
For the Overland Stage Company, and then the Pony Express used his markings to start that route.
Me and my wife and my cousin Paige Steckling from at Utah Real Estate. Shout out to Paige. We're going for a run tonight. Just come out and join us about 10 p.m. out there.
I love it. Out on my old ancestral Pony Express trail. I actually spent some time out there. It's as you said, it's dry. Take your water, but the desert's always got some. You'll see the stars.
Oh yes, that's why I like it, man. It's just, and I don't worry about getting hit. That's another thing. There's nobody out there, right? I might have to bring a gun, but I don't worry about getting hit, and I like that.
Oh, I love it. That's it's always a cool part about that area. There's just so much history that I said, the old railroads, the old Pony Express, the native history out there. It's all super cool and intertwined with our local stuff. All right. Looking ahead, Trevor, you get this win against Kansas State. You beat Kansas. What is it like for a player who, in your position, you go through, you've been in NFL locker rooms, you've played in college locker rooms where you've awaited bowl decisions. What is it like when you don't necessarily control your own destiny and you've kind of handled all you can on your field, and you have to wait now for someone to decide your fate on the football field?
You mentioned hope earlier. That's where the praying starts, right? And I mean that facetiously, but I think that what you can do is just keep yourself in shape, right? Keep your mind right. And it's a time to study tape. Okay, when you've got to worry so much about other people, you just study opponents then. All right, let's see what everybody's doing, right, just in case. And you just kind of find ways like I'm doing. You run around and find ways to burn time and burn energy, because you don't want to be thinking about all that, right? That's, you know what, you can control what you can control. So it really stays status quo. But me as an athlete and me as a coach, I like to look ahead a little bit and see, well, what's out there? If this is where we're going to be, let's look at the top 10. Let's look at the top 5 and see if we're a low seed. We're probably going to face one of these teams. And you just kind of, on your off time, you just take a peek and stay active, right? Keep it alive, right? Good energy, good vibes.
When you are looking around the country, because I know you watch a lot of college football, and you're looking at some of these, top 10, top 5 teams, who do you see that really pops for you?
Ohio
a guy who's
State.
Played at all these levels.
Ohio State has the best staff as far as experience-wise. They got ahead of the game. Okay, they spent NFL money. They hired NFL coaches.
I was going to say, you know how programs often say like the 33rd, they want to be the 33rd NFL team, that extra pro team. I think I heard it in Arizona a while. You weren't there. It seems like Ohio State might actually be there.
I mean, their D coordinator is a friend of mine. I played for him. I used to slit throats for him, figuratively speaking. And he's a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
Right? He's had a few mishaps here or there, but the guy's a smart dude, and he's been a Super Bowl coordinator. Right? He's beat the best of the best. So when you have the players that match up well, right, and the competitiveness on both sides is really, really awesome, it's coaching. And I see, they had Chip last year. He's running the Raiders now. They're not doing too well. By the way, Shador tomorrow. Shador versus the Raiders down the street.
That'll be fun to watch.
I think Ohio State, though, separated themselves financially. I mean, SI had them on the cover of $25 million last year, and you can only imagine what it is now. They won it last year, and they were going to fire the coach.
I was going to say the money is so big at Ohio State that if you're in place as a coordinator, as you were saying, your friend Matt Patricia, you don't have to worry about the recruiting, the money stuff. That's all taken care of. That's taken care of in a boardroom.
You're an NFL team, dude.
You're coordinating.
No wasted energy
You're
on
calling
meetings.
Plays. You are one.
That's right.
You are focused on Saturday, and that is a luxury in college football that most coaches, most staffs do not have. Right? They're working on a whole bunch of other stuff. And at Ohio State, to be completely frank with you, Texas A&M, you've seen
A&M's got it.
They're right there.
I just A&M, they're too Wildcat for me. I think they'll eventually blow it. They usually always do. Indiana, I love the coach. I mean, he's a quarterback guru, or at least he hired someone who is.
He is no nonsense either. I love the way he just presents himself.
Well, Cignetti is a guy who was at James Madison, right? And they came out of nowhere. And now they're a top 25 team pretty often. They were an FCS team, dude.
As a Virginia Tech fan, I was very aware of James Madison.
And you guys are irrelevant now, okay? You guys got Franklin. You guys are boring now.
Got Franklin.
You're going to win, but you're boring.
Hey, you love to talk about the money. I will say, the second that was signed and they brought James Franklin to town, it seems like the boosters were on board. Because
he's going to win, dude. He knows how to win. He's just not the guy.
They're bucking up as far as the wallet goes.
You know what's funny about them is that there's a lot of guys at University of Utah and the coaching staff and administration. They actually, before NIL started, we comped with their program very much so. As far as the atmosphere, location,
actually,
toughness,
funny enough, during that Rose Bowl,
winning stuff.
You could see it.
Yeah, there you go.
When they were together at that Rose Bowl, there was I kind of felt that. I talked to James Franklin about it, and interestingly enough, you bring up the thing. They just hired James Franklin in Blacksburg. I'm a Virginia Tech fan,
and that's where I think they comp.
I think they're going to win, but I also don't feel like a big oomph from him.
No.
So
it's a hard place to recruit.
I'm glad that I'm not the only one.
It's hard to do. Okay, Indiana's a little bit easier because I mean they do the combine in Indianapolis. All right, let's not get that twisted. That's why
you have some networking there.
Well, when Prime was at Jackson, we used to talk where would be ideal. I always thought either Phoenix or Denver. Okay, and both jobs were open at the time, but Phoenix or Boulder because the airports, dude, you can fly people in from the south.
Right.
In Indiana, everyone has a direct flight to Indiana. It's a hub of some sorts. And so they got it in Ohio. Ohio's Ohio. They drew a line around the state. They might lose to Michigan every year so often, but they're not going to lose to too many teams with that same staff and that salary cap they got.
You are not wrong about that. And then, of course, Utah and BYU sitting at 11 and 12 on. It's funny to me, Trevor. You look at big picture of college football. They're currently 11 and 12, but as the bracket sits right now, in a 12-team playoff, they'd be the first two out.
Yeah, man.
Because of Tulane, because of the conference championships. And interestingly enough, Trevor, the reason that those teams have those bids, the reason that those teams are getting what I think is due respect, you have a chance to get into the playoff, is because of the Utahs
no doubt,
before
dude.
them. It's because of the
Boise
Boise States
built this, dude.
before them. So it's,
they say we settled the West, right? The LDS settled the West. Well, Utah and Boise settled the whole BCS, dude. We finished that thing off. And then to your point, these guys are now about to eat off of us, and we're going to be left out maybe.
Well, and then you look even earlier, right? BYU in 1984 had a title that a lot of people were like, nationally, we're like,
well, they beat an 8-5
we got to do something
Michigan
about this. We got to play.
That's
the game
right.
now,
I forgot
right?
about that. That's another one. Don't let the Cougars out. Now they got a natty.
Now we're playing the games, and as much as people have some consternation about the committees, about some of the way that the picking happens, the more teams that have access and the more access just in general, the more parity you allow, I'm all for it. And I think it's allowed a game in November between Baylor and Utah to have stakes. A game in November between Cincinnati and BYU to have big stakes. A game in November between teams in the Mountain West and in the American Conference in Tulane and USF, big stakes. That's something we didn't have in college football 5 years ago.
We got an ace up our sleeve, though. Mark Harlan's on the committee now.
Hey.
Okay, shout out to Mark Harlan.
Recuse.
I know, but you know what? You can still get in people's ears, and they know you're putting down, right? So people,
I think that's as big for the conference.
Mark's got Big Brother going on. Okay, it's Survivor and Big Brother on that committee. Mm-hmm. Just think about this: if you got a few teams on that IEDs on the committee who have a team that's in the race, you're now politicking, all right? And you're finding out ways to get your word across without being arrogant or being a liar of any sorts. But I can see, Mark's got to cut some throats up there and get it done for us.
That's the thing, is that in today's age of college football, wherever there's money, there is, as you mentioned, you brought it up, politicking, right? Not in the sense of going out and running for Congress, but I know you have some thoughts on that.
No, yeah.
But you know what I mean, politicking in the sense of your brand, your image, your conference.
Dude, Saban used to do it all the time.
Oh, Saban's a master at it.
And
why do you think the SEC is looked at as it is? Yes, it's the football, but the football also came because of an air, because of an aura, because of a a culture and an atmosphere that didn't just come out of nowhere.
No, there's no doubt, man.
Came from people like Nick Saban.
He set the table for that. Him and Urban, they used to just plead, and they would be like politicians. They might say something that they said something different the other day, okay? They got to get their point across. So when you represent, a team and you're a gang leader of sorts, you have to be all in. I mean, Mark's got a great staff. He's got Manny Hendricks. He's got Jeff Rudy. He's got a good – we can get this thing moving, and that might give us the edge, Porter. Okay, that might give us the edge to slide right in there and get in over somebody. One can hope and pray. But
Stick to sports.
Stick to sports. It seems to be aligning, though, right? We need a few teams to get knocked off here, but we got a guy inside now here, Porter. We got an inside man, as they say.
Yeah, Mark Harlan, of course, on the CFP committee. So that is, it's something you have to at least talk about, because I do think it's good for the conference to just have a voice in the room, whether it's from your school, whether it was BYU's athletic director. Having someone there giving your conference a voice is big. Your school, of course, for sure.
And it reps nice, right?
And last week, of course, we saw the Mac Rhodes, who is now resigned from the AD post at Baylor, no longer the head of the College Football Playoff Committee. So some different voices will be heard in that room over the next couple of months. And, having one from your school, your conference, probably can't hurt too much. We'll talk about that and more as the Utes Game Day pregame show goes along. But how about the guy that Trevor Reilly can't stop talking about, Morgan Scalley?
That's my man.
Coordinator's Corner. That comes your way next with Sean O'Connell. We are live at Beer Bar, 161 East, 2nd South here in about an hour. They're going to get their brunch started with all of the Saturday action of college football up and available on their big projector screens. It's Beer Bar. Start and end your game day festivities here at Beer Bar. Our friends, the Burrells, Nick Raimondo, they're good friends of ours here at Beer Bar. Appreciate them having us regularly for the Utes Game Day pregame show. Porter Larsen, Trevor Reilly, back with you in a little bit. But next, it's the Coordinator's Corner with Morgan Scalley on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
This is Utah linebacker Lander Barton, and you're listening to Utah Football on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.
Utes linebacker Lander Barton bringing us back in on the Utes Game Day pregame show. Maybe you call him a tight end too. Depends on the week. We'll see if we see any action from Lander on that side of the football this time around. Porter Larsen here, Trevor Reilly with you on the Utes Game Day pregame show. Of course, brought to you today by our friends at Outlaw Distillery and Beer Bar, 161 East, 2nd South. Beer Bar will have your pregame and postgame festivities here. Take the tracks up to the game and stop on by downtown, 161 East, 2nd South for Beer Bar. As we do each and every week, we're going to stop in on the coordinator side. Coordinator's Corner with Sean O'Connell this week with our friend Morgan Scally.
The defensive coordinator, head coach in waiting, my friend Morgan Scally. Morgan, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Another week, brother. Another week preparing for a good opponent. And guys had a good week of practice. How are you doing?
Doing all right, man. Excited about the possibilities, excited about everything going on around this program right now, excited about the final home game of the season this weekend, which we'll get to here in just a second. But even though I know you coaches don't love looking back, you got to do it at least for radio purposes. Let's talk a little Utah-Baylor. 55-28. And it was kind of a weird game, if I'm being honest, because Baylor was able to move the ball, but your defense came up with the stops and the turnovers when they needed to. How do you evaluate a performance like that one where your opponent puts up a lot more yardage than you're comfortable with, but you know, you held them to 28 points, which is enough to get you a win?
Yeah, there's definitely things that you're not happy with in that game, and there's some things that, game plan-wise, you're sitting there going, okay, we did what we wanted to do. Game plan-wise, there are not a lot of teams, because of the skill set of their wide receivers, this, from top to bottom, probably the most skilled wide receiver group in the Big 12. And so, that was a concern going in, as much man coverage as we play. And then the quarterback was really good. The quarterback was efficient. He wasn't necessarily fleet of foot like a good amount in the Big 12, but he is as good of a thrower as there is in the Big 12. And so that was a concern as well. There weren't a lot of people that pressured him, not a ton of even 5-man pressures out there versus Sawyer. And we knew that the insert run game was something that they did to us last year and that had some success with. So our whole plan was if he's going to be running the ball, we want a stacked box. If he's going to be throwing the ball, we want to be able to hit him. And so for the most part, we were able to do that. The two things that you come away from that game saying that's not nearly good enough, the 7 points you give up at the end of the half with some blown coverages, and then, a couple of the deep shots just because of technique. We knew that they were going to get, a couple chunk yardage plays with contested balls. They had good enough wideouts that they're going to make some, we're going to make some, but it was the stuff where we're not getting hands on, we're not disrupting timing of routes. That was the stuff that you come away saying we got to be better there. Really did a nice job of hitting the quarterback, making him uncomfortable a little bit. Some too much yardage after the catch, missed tackles, poor tackling. But there's some, when you hold that quarterback to, I think it was 50% completion percentage, you get the two takeaways, you stop them on, I think it was 2 or 3 4th downs. There's some really good things that came from that game. And like you said, it was kind of an interesting game. I don't know the last time that we've had 100 reps on defense.
That's you had snaps on that side of the ball. Wow.
Yeah, and so you look back and I was like, okay, well, you had the pick 6, and so it's a quick turnaround. You had another setup, interception that set him up. A couple of long play touchdowns early for the offense, and so you're back out there on the field. So that was another reason for maybe the cumulative yardage is they were just on the field a lot more than normal because of the flow of the game, right? Whether it was, your offense goes 3 and out or they score early, you're just back on the field. And so, anyway, kind of like you said, kind of a weird game that way, but looking back on the film, too much yards after the catch, the 7 points before halftime, and then the just lack of technique on some of the deep shots. But I was really proud of our corners. We do a lot of this, and we put them on an island. And for the most part, I mean, you look at where we're at defensively in the country. I think we're top 10 pass defense efficiency, and a lot of that has to do with our corners and how they play man coverage. So really pleased with those guys throughout the season.
Can we talk about that group specifically for just a second? Because there's been plenty of years where you've coordinated a defense, where you've coached a unit that has kind of like a big name, like a guy that everyone in the country or everyone in the conference knows is good, All-America candidate, or even if it's not like a Clark Phillips type is who I'm thinking of in a situation like that. The people who know, like all of us who pay attention to the team are like, all right, that guy's great, that they're going to be fine here. And coming in off of last year and then coming into this year, it was like, well, I think these guys are going to be pretty good. I don't know that the level of expectation matches how good your corners have ended up being this year. Is this the best year of coaching you've seen from Sharif Shaw? Is there something particularly unique about this group to where maybe they came in without the fanfare, but like you said, they've been kind of a top 10 unit efficiency-wise in the country? To what do we attribute that?
I think because you don't necessarily have that one guy that, all of them feel like they're contributing, and it's, you look at Donovan Saunders coming in, with early injuries, didn't play as much, and now you're seeing him show up. Blake Cotton gets better every single week and more confident every single week. And you're going up against good wide receivers. And when you're going up against really good wide receivers, the Tyson kid from Arizona State, the kid at Colorado, I mean, you name it. There's good wide receivers on every team, and the accumulated reps that you're getting and you seeing yourself on film making these plays, holding your own with, zero pressure, no deep help. They've just gained confidence week after week after week. And, also it's the mental toughness, the ability to let that one go. I gave one up there. Scooby Davis, perfect example of a guy that, early on let something, and then all of a sudden you get the pick six, right? He poor technique, and all of a sudden, let that one go. He got one on me. Boom, next rep, pick six. So, Sharif has done an unbelievable job with these guys, and it just starts with technique. It starts with behavior and mental toughness, understanding in this scheme. You've got to be a dog. You've got to be able to forget the bad stuff and move on the next play because you're going to get yours.
How will you compensate for the first half absence of Scooby? He's been really good.
He has. He's been really good, but still have the guys that have come in and stepped in for him, right? And that's something that you've seen throughout the season already, the different, amount of corners that have come in, gotten some reps. And Benny can do that, right? Smith can move to the nickel spot and play outside. Donovan Saunders, Blake Cotton, you saw the emergence of, J.C. Hart and Stokes. And so all these guys are guys that we feel comfortable with. And that's who this defense is. Next guy up, and Lander Barton, out for a half targeting, and Trey Reynolds comes in and has an unbelievable, first half. So it's what you have to do to win championships, is develop the depth enough that when the next guy comes in, there's no drop off in efficiency or productivity.
Last thing on Baylor, did you pay special attention or do anything special to to cause such a bad game for Michael Trigg. He's been a big weapon for them, that tight end. And, man, he was frustrated all day. He had the one big play, but bad body language all day from him. You could just tell that whatever your guys were doing was just absolutely getting under his skin. Was there any special part of the game plan to facilitate that?
No, not necessarily. I mean, what you're trying to do, man coverage is a disruption coverage. And if you do not disrupt, it doesn't work. Guys go free down the field. And so I thought our safeties and our backers did a really nice job of making sure his life was uncomfortable. That there were no free releases, that down the field he was being contacted and he was being disrupted. So really nice job, really collective effort there. But that's man coverage. Wide receivers, tight ends, they think in terms of steps. This is a 3-step slant. This is a 5-step, corner route. Or they think in terms of yards, right? This is a 12-yard comeback, a 10-yard dig. Well, when you get in their grill and you're being physical with all that stuff goes out the window. Because, now you've disrupted their steps. You've disrupted their yards. The quarterback has to hold on to the ball a little longer than your defensive line's getting to the quarterback or forcing him off his mark. So where we were successful on Saturday was when we were doing that in man coverage. And when we were not successful, that you saw that as well. A lack of contact, a lack of disruption, a lack of getting them off their mark.
Morgan Scally is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show for Coordinator's Corner, brought to you by America First Credit Union. Moving on to Kansas State. This is a K-State team that you look at the roster, they've got bodies, they've got some talent. The quarterback can do some really nice things with his arms and, of course, his legs. But it hasn't really translated to the win-loss success that obviously folks in Manhattan, Kansas would have hoped for this year. What are you seeing from Kansas State and their offense on film that kind of perks your interest?
Well, another athletic quarterback, and this one, he's got a live arm. He can sling it. So his ability to run, again, you have to account for that, particularly when they've got dedicated Q runs like they do. And where it's been unfortunate for them, that's killed them. And you look at their game versus Texas Tech, they're playing well. They're matching scores, and it's just the giving the ball away. The turnovers have really been what have hurt them. They do a really nice job running the football. They've got good receiving threats and good receiving tight ends. That's another thing that can cause issues when all of a sudden these big body tight ends, they get out on air and they're running routes like wide receivers. So they do a nice job. Matt Wells does a nice job of complementary football, running the ball, some play action off of it, some Q run game, where they've kind of just ended up, for lack of term, not being efficient, is giving the ball away in critical moments. And so I know that's been a point of emphasis for them, but so we got to be as disruptive, and we had 2 takeaways last week. We got to continue with that, flip the field for our offense, because they are a mentality team much like us. They want to run the football. They want to be physical. They are physical. And so, they're fighting to be bowl eligible. As you can see in this league, any team can beat any team. It's all about matchups, momentum. And so we got to do a good job of starting fast.
You mentioned Matt Wells. Is there any notable difference when you're calling plays against an offensive play caller who's at least kind of rubbed elbows with your coaching tree, knows guys that know your system, has coached against teams that run similar systems and things like that? Does it change the actual game at all?
What you try and do is you try and go back, and anytime we faced that coordinator, what was their mentality? Now, he's been to different places. He has different skill group. What Matt does a really good job of is, he's one of those coordinators who's going to take what he has and mold his offense after that. He's not, this is my offense, you have to fit into it. He does a pretty good job of making sure he utilizes his best players. So, the biggest thing obviously is, okay, well, what does he do versus man coverage? What has he traditionally done versus man coverage teams? You try and study that as much as possible. And obviously, we are going to be who we're going to be, but you have to have some wrinkles and have to, keep them off guard a little bit with what they're potentially going to show you.
The college football playoff rankings continue to show Utah a lot of respect, and I know that you got to go out and you got to win these final two games. But what's the message to the team? Is there a message to the team regarding kind of their place in that playoff picture as you get ready for just a couple more?
No, you know the deal. You were with us, and 2004. Your focus is on that game, and there is talk, and you want to continue to be a part of that talk. Well, let's keep doing what's been getting us there, not get distracted by it. So we've got Kansas State, who's a really good opponent, and if you aren't preparing for them with everything you got, then guess what? Be prepared for disappointment.
Yeah.
And, so it's always nice to be a part of the conversation. That's what you work for and work towards. But what has gotten you there, don't forget about that. All you can control is how you play on Saturday. You can't control what the pollsters say, what the fans say. It doesn't mean anything. What matters is what you do, behavior on Saturday, and that's what our guys are preparing for. We've got good leadership, good senior leadership, and we've had some really good practices. We're fired up for senior day too. Everyone for the most part, you remember your senior day. I remember, that the game, it was against BYU at home, the crowd rushing the field, seeing your family, your friends, all that stuff. We've got some guys that have meant a lot to us, and we want to go out and win this one for them.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. You've got some really important figures in this program that they're trotting out one last time on the Rice-Eccles Stadium field, and there is, there's a certain level of emotion to that. You do have to stay focused on the task at hand, but as a coach, how do you help them manage the moment when it is the last time they get to play at home?
I think that if they don't know that by now, then it's not like anything I say now is going to make the difference. They understand what it takes to win football games, and whether it's senior day, whether it's whatever, I'm playing for my mom, I'm playing for my dad, I'm playing for my family. There's the emotions of the game. You have to focus on your assignment. And not let emotions rule you. Emotions are always going to be a part of the game, but let's properly direct those emotions to playing really good football. Scooby wishes he had not let his emotions affect him. And there's a guy right there that I love. Scooby Davis is a guy that's grown up in this program, and he knows that what he did was wrong. And, so I'm fired up for the second half for him, because he's going to come in with the attitude of, I need to prove myself to these guys that I'm the same guy.
If you think back to that really special final home game that you played in, did you know in that moment that you were a Utah lifer, that you were a guy that would be having a conversation in this capacity or something similar to this, another 20 years later?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I'm grateful for it. I can tell you that. Grateful for, really, it's the relationships that you're grateful for. Those are the things that you remember. Coaches say, "Oh, you're going to miss the two-a-days and the." I'm like, no, I don't. I don't miss two-a-days. I don't miss gassers. I hated gassers. I don't miss 5-minute periods that are 7 minutes long. It was a pet peeve of mine. But I miss the relationships. I miss being out there and competing in the relationships and the guys that mean so much to you and the things that you learn from them. So, this crew right here is going to always remember the special bond they had with one another.
So when you're a head coach, is the 5-minute practice period actually going to be 5 minutes, or will you find yourself fudging the times like every head coach in history has?
OC, I'm not a head coach, so I don't have to answer that question.
Well, I'm going to ask you whenever you are a head coach. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, look, there's a lot of speculation that this could be the last ride at Rice Eccles for Kyle Whittingham. He won't tip the hand one way or another. He's not going to tell us in the media, certainly. Is there any indication in the building?
He's the head coach of Utah, and that's how it is. And until the time that he says I'm not the head coach of Utah, that's how we function. And we're here to beat Kansas State right now.
All right, dude. I love it. You're the man. I always appreciate you giving us some time, and we'll see you up there on Saturday.
Love you back, brother. Have a good one.
That's Morgan Scally, defensive coordinator at the University of Utah. Coordinator's Corner brought to you by America First Credit Union.
Coordinator's Corner brought to you each and every week here on Utah's #1 sports talk. It is the home of the Utes since 1951, ESPN 700. Of course, supporter Larsen Trevor Reilly alongside you for the Utes Game Day pregame show leading up to about noon, where Bill Riley, Scott Mitchell, Stevenson Sylvester will take over from the Smiths VIP tailgate. And then at 2 p.m., it is kickoff of Kansas State at number 12 Utah. Big 12 implications and more still on the table for the Utes. Back with more on the other side of college football scoreboard update. We'll go around the Big 12, look at some college football playoff rankings, our predictions for the game, and more as we roll along. 45 minutes or so, or 35 minutes or so still to go on the Utes Game Day pregame show on Utah's #1 sports talk. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
This is head coach Kyle Whittingham, and you're listening to Utah Football on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.
Head coach Kyle Whittingham bringing us back in on the Utes Game Day pregame show. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. I am Porter Larsen, Trevor Reilly alongside me here at Beer Bar, 161 East, 2nd South. Stop by for some brunch here. About 30 minutes from now, I'll be giving away some tailgate passes and got some ESPN shirts. RSL, I believe that's a blanket, like a portable blanket that turns into a bag / maybe a stadium seat. RSL branded, so come by and say hello. The home of Nick Raimondo here at Beer Bar. Well, the home of Nick Raimondo every once in a while on a Saturday or a Sunday morning maybe. As I've seen him here for a brunch once or twice.
Is he in good shape?
Nick could still probably play a little soccer.
Okay.
He's still in good shape.
Do you think he plays any rec leagues around here?
Probably.
How fun would that be if you show up to a rec league on a Saturday or Thursday night?
Go
and it's freaking
wall
Nick
of the
Raimondo.
Wasatches there. No one scores the whole day.
That would be fun.
Probably not doing much of that. He's coaching. He's involved with the club. He's involved here. So I don't know how much rec league he's playing, but I'm sure he kicks the ball around every once in a while.
Do you play any rec league soccer ever?
I not much of a soccer player. I watch the game. I like following a little bit, but the coordination with my feet was never really quite there. I could.
You were a handy man. You used to post fence, didn't you, with your hands? So maybe you're more of a hand guy.
Yeah, I mean, played basketball, played football, receiver, but the soccer. I also, to be clear, as you just brought up, grew up in a farm town that didn't really have soccer.
Well, soccer is a
until
communist
I was
sport.
Exactly.
They don't believe in that in farm country.
Exactly. We didn't believe in soccer. It was funny that
sport for the haters. I call soccer.
We didn't have a soccer program at my school, but the little boarding school that is all kids from out of town and all kids from the East Coast. They had a soccer program at the Oakley School, if you will. Now, once I got to high school, they got with the times. But just to give you an idea why I didn't necessarily grow up playing soccer.
No soccer in the woods in Utah, huh?
No, not too much. All right, how about a scoreboard update for y'all on the college football side? Some games going final on a Friday. Florida State, North Carolina State, NC State getting the 21-11 win over the Seminoles. UNLV, the 38-10 win over Hawaii to keep their Mountain West title hopes alive. How about Dan Mullen, Trevor? 9-2 at UNLV. That's a program. And listen, you and I talked about UNLV week 1 because
got that money,
of why.
They got
the
that
NIL
cheese,
conversation.
And they got a Ute down there coaching.
The narrative, the
two of them, Ganther's
market,
down there too.
As you mentioned, some of the guys on staff, obviously Dan Mullen, they've got a good thing going there. Now, keeping those guys in the room, we'll see how UNLV can go. But it's always part of that conversation.
Sorry, I had to say it.
They get the win.
Hopefully, they double down. Okay.
Yeah.
And I seriously believe that this is a point now when you win.
Little poker.
You got to. When Utes are in the same situation, you're having a great season, right? You're on the brink. What decision are you going to make? Are you going to fold them as Kenny Rogers? Are you going to fold them? I listened to the gambler on the way in, dude.
If you got that hand, double down.
There
double
you go.
Down. Early games today underway. Rutgers and Ohio State, the number 1 team in all of college football. They've got a 14-3 lead on Rutgers going into halftime. Rutgers actually has the ball with a chance to make it a one-possession game against Ohio State going into the half. So one to at least keep an eye on, one that you don't really have to keep an eye on. Texas A&M, they're up 28-0 over Samford, about to score as well. And then one you really should keep an eye on if you're a Utah fan, Oklahoma and Missouri. The 8th-ranked Sooners right now, a couple of spots ahead of Utah in the college football playoff rankings. They're up 14-3 over Missouri, 2 minutes to go in the second half. So we got a 2-possession game going into halftime there. Second quarter in Blacksburg, my Hokies are down 17-3 against Miami. Of course, that's one you should watch as well. Miami right there in the playoff conversation. They're 8-2, 4-2 in the ACC, but because of how the ACC's played out, they're probably not going to play for that.
They got one win,
game.
dude. They beat Notre Dame, but they look like a front-runner school, okay? They're getting beat up a little bit here at the end of the season.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That's their marquee win, which makes it tough on the committee because Notre Dame's kind of in that same picture.
First game of the season,
It seems like Notre Dame today is much better than Miami, but that head-to-head got to mean something.
By the way,
it's tough.
Do you think James Franklin is at the game?
I think
if
so.
he's there, is he instructing or is he just sitting up watching? What's going on there?
Good question.
How does
because
that
he
work?
was hired in season, but isn't taking over.
Is he watching from afar and taking notes of who's going to fire and cut?
I'm pretty sure he's there because I do know that he went and did his press conference. He got introduced to the Booster Club and all of the above the last couple of days. So he's there. He's on the ground. But yeah, Virginia Tech down 17-3 against Miami. Of course, the Canes kind of in the playoff conversation at 8-2. Minnesota Northwestern 21-13. That one going into halftime. We've got Louisville and SMU. Both of those teams at 7-3, 21-6 the lead for the Mustangs at halftime. Wake Forest has a 35-7 lead over Delaware.
What's their record? Wake Forest.
Wake Forest
7-3. So do they have an ACC championship? Maybe they don't have one. I don't remember if they have one or not.
Are you saying do they have like one in the past?
No, this year is there an ACC championship game?
Yes.
So the winner is going to get in, or are we not sure about that?
So the winner might get in. That's the
weird thing. I still don't understand what that is.
I'm going to clear it up for you and any fans that don't know yet. So
thank you very much.
There are 5 bids for conference champions. They're locked in, but it's not the Power 5. That's not a thing anymore. That's not what we're not like just giving conferences a power status based on what narrative. We're not doing that.
No.
It's the top 5 ranked based on the committee's
top 5
conference champions. So
that's okay. I like that.
The American Conference champion, if the Mountain West Conference champion, if the AAC's conference champion is just better than the ACC champion, or they have a better resume, they're getting picked over Duke, say. If Duke wins the ACC but has 4 losses, but Tulane wins the American and has 2 losses, Tulane's going to get in over Duke. That's where that 5-team
wouldn't that be crazy?
Automatic bid is.
Tulane gets in over Duke. Who the heck ever thought that would have been said this year? I bet if you had a million situations, you wouldn't have said Tulane getting in over Duke just by a slim margin, and Utah's on the outs. That's what we're looking at here. Tulane and Duke over Utah. Come on, dude. We will run over those teams, dude.
Well,
we will beat them by 30, dude.
That's the interesting point. All right, Duke wouldn't make the playoff in that scenario. They just spoil the ACC's party right now.
Come on, man.
Ahead of them right now, we've got Pitt, SMU, Virginia, Georgia Tech.
I want all those schools, dude.
I do think Georgia Tech would be a fun matchup. I think that's a good football team. But other than that, I think Utah would.
I whooped up on Georgia Tech.
Comfortably be favorites of every other ACC.
Do you remember 2011 Sun Bowl? John White. I think Norm Chow calls a sprint draw to win the game, all right, in overtime. I almost hopped in with the Truckers to head back to Utah. Okay, that was a fun game. And Georgia Tech, they had Stephen Hill. They had
you were going to hop in the equipment truck?
Yeah, well, I wanted to. Something happened. I don't remember. It was weird. I ended up going back to California. I slept the whole way. my friend's car or something. They give us these cheap watches, dude. I think about NIL now. I saw Steve Savoy today wearing a Fiesta Bowl watch, and it's a great memento. But the thing's probably worth $5, dude. They gave us a bowl gift.
Sun Bowl.
Freaking Sun Bowl. We had guys that were participating in the lower half of the economic stuff there. It was bring your own beer strip clubs, and I knew we were close to hell. In El Paso was right across the river there, right across the freeway. Do you know Juarez, Mexico? Juarez.
You just had to get home.
Well, my wife and kids were there, so I was at the Walmart at midnight, and that was a disaster. Okay, go to a Walmart in El Paso around midnight, a freaking nightmare. Okay, right around the corner from a bring your own beer strip club, and now we're having a bowl game. Anyway, we faced Georgia Tech, and we went down to the wire.
Let's go back to the Sun Bowl.
We toughed them out, though. We toughed them out in overtime. Okay, we're tougher than them. I want some of that smoke.
8-yard draw for the win. John White, of course, gets the touchdown to score. Georgia Tech got a field goal, if I remember correctly, and then you guys got the touchdown in overtime. College football scoreboard update continues. Minnesota Northwestern 21-13 at the half. SMU Louisville 21-6 at the half for SMU. And then in Big 12 action, Iowa State up 17-0 over Kansas, who Utah has next. Army up 22-14 over Tulsa. Georgia up 21-0 over Charlotte. And then Baylor, Arizona. Baylor's up 14-7 at the end of the first quarter in Tucson.
Can I ask you? Go ahead. Sorry about that. I was going to ask you one question.
Do it, and then we'll take a break.
Quick question. You talked about these 5 conferences. As you're reading these teams, Kansas against Iowa State, what I can see happening here, right? I've been to Iowa State. My mom was born there in '59. We went there and hung 70 on them. You couldn't stay within an hour of the place, right? I think we're seeing a natural scale here, right? If you don't have this money, right, you don't have a donor here or there, this thing's going to scale to big cities, dude. And you're going to we're starting to see a scale here. Now that I know that about what's going on, college football is changing right before our eyes. The small town, like, still going out. That's kind of changed. When I hear Georgia Tech is starting to hang with Georgia, you know what I mean? Atlanta is a big-time corporate town.
Right.
That's going to shift a little bit. I could see, the whole landscape is shifting, which bodes well for Salt Lake if we can get it together. But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's about markets. It's about
and Washington State and Oregon State, they're the first hacks of this thing.
TV money, it's a huge part of this. Is the revenue. It doesn't matter how many fans are at that stadium, 50,000 plus that'll be there at Saturday. That product is not as important as the millions, even 1 million that are watching on TV. That's right. The TV. That is the moneymaker. That is the product that they look at. And for your, what you're saying, the markets are going to benefit from that, and they are continuing to. We talked about it early in the season. What does that mean for Wyoming? What does that mean for these schools?
It means everybody's FCS.
It means Wyoming better find some oil out there. That means
I'm telling you, dude.
Like that's just the reality of the situation. So. It's interesting as we go through the college football scoreboard update. James Madison and Washington State, 3-3.
James Madison was an FCS team in Washington State. I remember watching them in the Rose Bowl.
James Madison has a.
I remember watching them in the Rose Bowl, dude. I remember Mike Leach got 11 wins there, dude.
You're talking about college football changing, right? James Madison has the ball. It's 3-3 against Washington State in the first quarter, and the team with a path to the college football playoff. That's at home? Yeah, it's James Madison. It's not Washington.
Are they near D.C. or something? Where are they near, man? They're somewhere over there in Virginia or something, man.
They are.
They got some money hanging around there. They got Illuminati D.C. money, man.
We're going to get back on the other side. We'll give you our prediction to the game and more as we go along. They're at Brooks Stadium in South Carolina, it looks like. We'll get to the other side and set you loose for Bill Riley, Scott Mitchell, Stevenson Sylvester. They'll have the call of the game. We'll get you our predictions, the line for the game, and maybe a little weather update as well before we send it up to Rice Eccles Stadium. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.
This is Utah quarterback Devin Dampier, and you're listening to Utah football on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
Welcome back. Utes Game Day on ESPN 700. Shout out to our friends at Beer Bar, Richard and the crew, having us out here this morning. Richard said Utah by 25.
That's a touchdown a quarter. I think it's doable. I'm with him. I'm
guy
a ride with Richie, dude.
Our guy Richard here having us at Beer Bar. Yeah, he's got the Utes by a bunch as we prepare for kickoff. Number 12, Utah, and Kansas State ready for battle. And, of course, as Trevor and I have talked about, a bunch on the line of Big 12 potential possibility of still backing into that championship game. And then, of course, the 12-team college football playoff, still a possibility for Utah as well.
We got Mark Harlan, baby. Come on, Mark. Slide in some good words in there, man. We got to win out. We got a good shot.
For Kansas State, not as much, of course, to play for, but as we get late into the season, you know this, there are a bunch of seniors on that team. They're fighting for bowl eligibility. They're playing the last couple football games of their life. That adds an element late in season. They could play spoiler for a team that's trying to get to the playoff. You don't necessarily expect Kansas State to come out flat, right? So
no.
that's something you got to prepare for as well.
We can't have any blunders on teams, dude. When we don't screw up on teams, we smoke people. And I think that's the play here. If we can stay ahead early, we're going to run right through these guys.
Well, give me an idea, Trevor. We kind of dove into this a little bit, the Kansas State roster. Give me an idea of what you think specifically for Utah is kind of a you can say X factor, you can say a key to the game, whatever you want to call it, against a team in Kansas State who, I'll be honest, Trevor, they do a lot of things pretty average. There's not like one thing outside of a athletic, talented quarterback who's still very much learning how to play quarterback. There's not a whole bunch that pops off the screen when you look at this Kansas State team. So for Utah, is it just your MO? Is it just forcing the opponent to play your game?
You know, if I'm Kansas State, I think I can shut down this offense, all right? As a coach, I would love to face this offense, all right? I don't think they would beat me. Utah is just mashing people, and meaning they know what's coming, they can't stop it anyway. So there's an element there where if that should continue, right, it's continued for most of the season. But let's say it doesn't. This is the one concern I have. Let's say this team decides that they're going to have the greatest day of their lives with physicality and the toughness thing, and they have a Rudy day, I call it. A bunch of Rudy days out there. All right? And all of a sudden, you got to start throwing the ball. Right? That's what I want to see, the tight end game. Hopefully early on in this game, I'm hoping he gets the ball to the tight ends down the field a little bit. If they're going to play a heavy box, okay? Everybody knows that. Everybody's played Madden or seen enough of the game. And the obvious thing is let's take advantage of the box. Well, we just have a hard time throwing the ball down the field. So you play a shallow cover 3 zone, single high, right, and you just play the run hard. We got to get the tight ends involved early. I think that's going to be the key just to hedge our bet against any kind of shenanigans, as I call it, where we got to come from behind.
I agree with you, but I got to offer a correction to something I said a few minutes ago. I said they don't do anything like really well. They do one thing really well. They're top 10 in the country in fewest penalties, fewest penalty yards.
Okay.
So while they don't necessarily blow you out of the water with their production, they're not moving the ball too much, they don't beat themselves.
Yeah.
So that's at least something. If you're Utah, you play clean game because the team across from you probably not going to turn the ball over a bunch, and they're probably not going to, even though you're in Rice Eccles, maybe a few false starts that you're not used to normally having. They're probably not going to beat themselves very often. That's a different dynamic.
I'm looking at that special teams game, dude. As long as we're solid in the first half of that, we're going to be all right, man.
And the one other stat that I was going to bring up, thank you for bringing it up for me, kick returns. Kansas State's top 10 in the country, 11th actually in kick returns. So there are a few things that they, have done well this year that kind of stand out to you in that regard. But for Utah, I really do think, Trevor, a clean football game. You run the football well. You don't turn the ball over. And this is a Kansas State team who you should beat by several scores.
Dude, we threw 3 jump passes last week in the middle of the field. Not in the red zone. We threw some Tebow jumpers for some completions. So this is going to be a game where we're either going to run them out by 40, or we might be in a dogfight here, right? If they hang in there in this run game now, might be in a little bit of a dogfight.
I saw, and I think the analyst on the TV broadcast called it an RPO. And
yeah,
it kind of was an RPO. I don't think it was.
Forward shovel.
I think it very much was Devin Dampier has never run the jump pass before.
Okay.
Because you saw him, he'd run up to the line of scrimmage a little bit and then kind of stuttered and threw it up to.
Bird hit it in stride, dude. Like Bird was dancing out there and throwing that thing. And hit it, man.
We'll have to see another one of those because the jump pass that Utah kind of brought to the forefront early 2000s. A few times you saw it throughout the year. Matt Asiata did it after he took a handoff. One of my favorite plays in all of football because it's so simple, yet so effective if done correctly. Right? If you sell that run,
fantastic play,
it's the play action with a little spin on it. You're handing it to the running back. That guy's throwing the football.
I like this offensive coordinator, and I'm worried we're going to lose him. Right? This guy's going to be out of here. He's got the look, man. He's got everything going for him. He's a former player, quarterback, won at every level offensively. And if we keep rolling, man, if we got 11 or 12 wins and our old coordinator's doing this,
well, you bring it up before. He had success at the lower level. He's now having success at the Power 5 level.
Yeah.
So if you are an AD across the country and you have a vacancy in your head coaching position, that's the kind of resume you look at. Now,
that's the
you
guy,
like
dude. Him or Morgan or Jay, I'm like, I want these guys, man. Those are Captain Americas. I want those guys, man.
It brings up the point where if you're an AD, if you're at the Power 5 level, you may want a guy that's been a head coach before. But if you are on the verge, maybe you're a G5 or a team that's right on the brink there, go sign any coordinator, really.
Dude,
They got
McDaniel running the Dolphins, okay? McDaniel's running the Dolphins.
How's that
I
going?
had Adam Gase. You're telling me that these three cats right here, come on, man. So I think there's some bias going on. Maybe people are just so afraid of the truth. They don't want none of this, dude. I can't think of any other way but to be defensive. I don't want to sound too like that, but really, how is this possible?
Well, listen, there is a little bit of number one, a persecution complex in our state, right? This is a thing, but it's also a thing because of
we had a murder record on there. Illinois,
a real thing.
They ran us out of a few places now.
Exactly. There's a that exists for a reason, right?
Yeah,
and when it comes to football, you see how many guys come out of this place and go to the NFL. Well, per capita, as much as anywhere in the world.
Someone just say, no, let me get Joe here and just go copy paste right here,
right?
Like Signetti. If I had Signetti's dudes, man.
So for people who live in this state and know what the football product is here, there can be a little bit of a feeling of disrespect when people don't know what they're watching, what they're looking at.
Haters,
so
man.
I
Soccer
get it.
fans,
and that's why I joked, if Utah and BYU are 11-12 and they get left out of the 12-team playoff, what are we like? We have to protest in some form.
Here's
right?
what I'll say: ESPN and Fox, they love Utah. Okay, they love coming to Utah. Shoot, they find every chance they get, they come out to the state.
In the last 300 days,
no doubt. But hey, what have you done for me lately?
It takes a long time to make up for 20 years of not doing it.
I'm sounding the horn. We got three. And don't.
We do got to lean in.
A-Rod, give his credit too. Now A-Rod can coach down there. Okay.
Yep.
He can coach down there, but we got three guys, man, who are at the prime of their lives. Jay's not going to have. Jay just had a heart attack, so he's over the hill a little. He's going to be all right. We got guys, man, and we don't have anybody coming and grabbing these guys, and we should be exporting this Utah football to the world. We know we know how to do this. Come on, man.
Here's the deal. I think that what you're saying is true, but I think that the country's waking up. You're seeing Corner Canyon playing for what is a national championship.
Yeah, there we go. It's against St. Francis. My man Jaden down there. He's killing it. Number 9 is killing it.
You're seeing first-round draft picks almost every year coming out of this state. Zach Wilson, Penei Sewell, even if they don't work out, you're seeing that people are understanding the football that's coming out of here, and we're getting the recognition. So that brings me to the next point. Those coaches who haven't got those chances in the past, the Morgan Scallys, the Jay Hills, even the Kyle Whittinghams before, may get them more.
No, I hear you.
That this is becoming more known. So we'll get to that. But, hey, we only have a couple minutes left, so let's get to our predictions. Utah, Kansas State. Number 12 Utes come into this game, opened up as 17.5-point favorites. I'll refresh that. That is where the line stands today. No big news on the injury front. Over-under, Trevor set at 52.5. The Utes are given 17.5 points. How comfortable are you with it?
I'm taking the under and the points. I think we're going to strangle these guys out. Okay, I don't know if we'll score too much on them, but I think we'll strangle them out.
I'm going to go with you. Do you get a score?
Yeah, I would say 35-7.
I'm
in the points right? 35-7. That's it.
You're under there. I'm going to go 34-27. 31-10.
Okay.
I'm going to go 31-10 along the same lines, but again, the under and Utah covering comfortably against a Kansas State squad coming into this game. 5-5 overall. Utah 8-2. Of course, the number 12 team in the country. For Trevor Reilly, I am Porter Larson. For James Peterson, back behind the glass, and for all of our friends here at Beer Bar, remember, come in for your pregame or your postgame festivities at Beer Bar. It's 161 East, 2nd South. They've got you covered here. They've got all of the games up on their huge projector screens, 150 beers on tap, a bunch of them local. It is a Beer Bar. Stop by and say hello to our friends Richard and Co. downtown. Next up, it's number 12 Utah and the Kansas State Wildcats, brought to you by our friends at Smith's and America First Credit Union. Bill Riley, Scott Mitchell, Stevenson Sylvester on the call, live from the Smith's VIP tailgate up on campus. It is Utah's number one sports talk and your home of Utah football since 1951. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM.